Welcome to the Real Life Alexa channel. I'm Alexa. This is my real life. This is video 2, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about where this all began and how I came to start this channel, and where I definitely want to focus some of the things that I'll talk about. So, my childhood was interesting. There was a lot of good stuff, definitely. But I was a victim of abuse, mental and emotional, narcissistic parental alienation. And there was an event at the age of 13 that was massively traumatic and ended with me moving to the US to live with my dad. I was born and raised in England before that. With this type of childhood, there's a lot of research out there, and it's stuff that I'm fascinated in. There's indications that people who suffer trauma as children have certain things that are different, possibly physically in their brain. As their brain develops, there's a lot of trauma response types of basically ways we try and save ourselves. So preemptively trying to get everything done for someone so that they're not mad at you is a trauma response. Being an overachiever, being anxious, having anxiety and depression. And it's heavy. It's a lot of heavy stuff. So as much as maybe going into that story one day will help more people, giving you that background today is simply to say that there were challenges that affected me. And there came a point where I realized I couldn't keep going the way I was going, that I want to have a good life. I want to have happiness in my life. I want to have health in my life. And you come to a point where it's not okay that what happened to you happened, but you have to take a moment to say, I'm going to do what I'm going to do with this that was given to me. And that was really the turning point in the start of my journey in terms of healing and becoming extremely self-aware, though I would think there is a lot more I can do there. Side note, holding yourself to extremely high standards is one of the things that comes along, because if you're not perfect, you know that you're going to get shouted at and whatever else goes along with it. So finding my way, it has been a long journey. This hasn't been something that I've done in the past year. It's not something in the past 10 years. I mean, it's almost been a lifelong thing, I would say. As with most people, that we're always learning and growing, and we're always processing new information. But this conscious part of my journey has been since I would have been about 21. And it has been very windy, sometimes going forward, sometimes backwards, sometimes sideways, sometimes going on detours where you have to backtrack. But at the end of the day, there has been a lot of work that I have intentionally and consciously done. And I think that there, at least when I was very first starting on my journey of self-healing, a lot of the strategies that work the best were not talked about. They weren't sort of as public as they are now. And to me, that's such a travesty, because I think about things like some of the most stressful jobs people can have, such as military, police, fire. These people give of themselves And we know as a society that these are stressful jobs, and there are things that can genuinely help not just them, but all of us. But why are we not providing these services to them to help them with their jobs? And we don't, because there's a stigma attached to some of the most impactful things, such as therapy, medication if you need it, things like that. I think the journey that I have been on, I have talked about within smaller circles, and I do know that others have told me that by being open and honest with my own journey, it has helped them to come to a point with being okay with moving in that way with their own. So I found a few years ago that I didn't have anything to say when I was meeting with my therapist at the time. And I started to realize that I'd sort of been silenced for a while. I don't even know now how long it was. And I was just sad is not the right word, but devastated is too much, I think. It's somewhere in the middle of that. There is this overwhelming sense of why. There is a lot of data out there that shows that women are silenced a lot by society. If women talk for even a fraction of the time men talk in a meeting, they're considered too talkative and too they take the lead too much, and they're overtaking the meeting and or a classroom or wherever it is that you are. And this research is crazy to me. So there's a societal aspect to it. And then there was also, and this is what made me angry and sad, was I realized that some of the silencing I was doing to myself, and I was doing it to myself out of fear. Some of it I was doing out of just exhaustion, because I am really tired of justifying stuff to anyone. So I think women who, as an example, are fans of a sport, very big fans of a sport, will know or have experienced the kind of justification you have to come up with when you go into a group of male supporters. I know that this happens with things like video games, any type of hobby or interest that is generally seen as one that men participate in more than women. And I follow Everton FC, the English Premier League, and I have had to justify. And people question, well, are you a fan? And I don't need to justify that to you. I don't need to justify my involvement, my feelings, or any of that. I've gotten nothing to prove to anyone. And it became easier to just walk away, to not talk to people, to not put myself in those positions where someone would be trying to force me to justify. I think that a lot of the political turmoil over the past 10 years, maybe even longer, has been exhausting for a huge amount of people, regardless of what your views are. The majority of people are not on either extreme. The majority of people are somewhere within the middle, and most of us have a mixture of what is kind of called conservative and liberal policies. Most of us have a mix of things we believe, and that's where true compromise can be found. But the political landscape has been exhausting for a lot of reasons, and a lot of people, there is a lot of exhaustion from what I can see and hear, and so that's contributed to it. I I'm a huge, huge supporter of just basic human rights. These are the things that we are born with. We deserve just basic human respect, decency. We deserve to have a roof over our head, food in our bellies. We deserve to have access to health care. We deserve to have clean drinking water. You know, it doesn't mean that everyone deserves to have the best job ever. That's not what this is. And we are not born into the same circumstances, and we are not born with the same like if it was a card game, we don't all get the same hand, right? We're not all dealt the same hand. That's different. That's external circumstances. And maybe there are some internal things like our intellect or what we prefer, what we like to do, things like that. But if we are human, we do deserve to be allowed to just live, right? And to not have to struggle. We have come such a long way. The industrial revolution, the technological revolution. I mean, if we told our ancestors from even 300 years ago what our society is today, what we have, I think they'd be flabbergasted. I think they would be absolutely astonished that poverty is still a thing, that wealth inequality is at its highest levels ever, things like that. But to leave that there and get back to where I was going with how I came to this point to talk about things, this combination of realizing I was silenced and my voice was gone and I didn't have even the words to express what I was feeling at the time, thinking. When you can't even tell yourself what you're thinking, it's a little weird. And I started to get a little angry. I started to get a little upset with myself that I had allowed this to happen to myself. So I started to say, well, okay, this is my healing journey. What is the next thing for me to do in this healing journey? So I'm going to explore this aspect, right? Like, why do I feel like I don't have a voice right now? Why do I feel like I've been silenced? What can I do to support myself and bring myself back to feeling like I have something to say again? And that exploration has led me to this realization that there are things I haven't shared because it does get exhausting to have to justify certain things. There will be people who say, well, you say you experienced this as a child, but you didn't even experience this other thing, so therefore someone else had it worse. That's absolutely correct. There are people out there who had much worse childhoods than I did, and I am very conscious and very grateful of that fact. That does not mean that what I experienced was okay. It does not mean that what I experienced was not extremely traumatic. And it does not mean that the consequences, the long-term, ongoing, to this day consequences of the things that happened to me are not actually there, because they are. If you have any, you can Google and look this up yourself, common traits of people who suffered childhood trauma, you could say child abuse, whatever you want to Google a few of them. The common traits are there for all to see, and people much smarter than me, much more dedicated, who have like dedicated their lives to researching this stuff, they're the ones who have put this out there. This isn't something that I'm coming up with. It's not something that I'm hypothesizing. This is just, it's out there. And the more we learn, the more we realize that these differences are there. They're actual. There's physical differences. There's our brain wires a little differently. The misophonia that I have, they've figured out that the sound and the sensory processing input, and I think also this occurs with visual and other touch, taste, smell, senses, any sensations, it doesn't actually follow the same direction as other people in their brains. That's not me just being a drama queen when I see someone chewing gum and popping it and want to like make it stop at any cost, make the feeling in my ears and my brain stop at any cost. It's there. It's real. Now, by knowing that those things are real, we now have an opportunity to say, okay, so then how do we address this so that we can, accommodate for it, I guess is a good way to say. So there are some amazing inspirational people in the world who go to the Special Olympics, right? They have lost limbs, they have disabilities. It's incredible. They have still found a way to do the sports they love. And that's where I'm trying to go with this, is that whatever there is that is an obstacle in my path, and those obstacles are probably similar to a lot of people out there, those obstacles, we can find a way to get around them. They are not a be-all, end-all, never gonna go past it scenario. And that realization over the past few years, that I was silencing myself for a few reasons. And one of those reasons is a trauma response that I have. And it's not even a trauma response. It's a consequence of the trauma. So now that I realize and know this, I can work to overcome it. So I have very, very strong feelings on Amazon using my name for their devices. They originally called them Echo, and from what I understand, it wasn't selling the way they wanted to, and they decided to give it a girl's name and took off. It has been disgusting that they would do that in the first place. But my name wasn't common prior to that. So I would meet people and you're the first Alexa I've ever met. And the only reason they would say that is because of the devices. So please avoid doing any Alexa jokes. I will not be amused. And that's just not. Nope. They've all been said to me. It's not funny. And now I don't know where I was going with it, but just don't. Really annoys me. But my friend has one. I remember where I was going. And my friend has one of these. She tends to use Apple products, though, so maybe she doesn't have an app. Anyway. She has decided, and she is going to be very thankful that I did this, but I did not come up with the name Real Life Alexa for my channel myself. She started calling me her Real Life Alexa, and she said, anytime I don't know something, I just ask you, because I know that if you don't know it, you're going to find out for me and then explain it to me. And so she came up with this nickname a few years ago, and it stuck. And it just sort of stuck in the back of my head that I am Alexa. This is my real life. I love learning. I love finding new things out. And I need to start sharing this journey again with people. And I need to do it a little more broadly than I have been. And I'm doing it for me. I need to find my own voice. I need to learn to use my voice despite my fears. And I need to not worry about where my message lands in that there will be good and bad, positive and negative feedback. There always is. But that's none of my business. I am open to and seek out constructive feedback for my own growth. But what people think of us, it really isn't our business. We have to be true to ourselves. Excuse me. I know that I do the best I can each day. I know that I am not out here ever actively trying to harm anyone. It boggles my mind that people want to hurt others. I sometimes wonder if something's wrong with me, and then I'm like, wait, no, it's actually worse. Like, it's wrong to want to hurt other people, so I shouldn't be wondering if there's something wrong with me if I don't want to, right? It's really other people. Like, whole sidetrack there. At the end of the day, I know I've done my best, and I know that I have stood up for what I believe in. I know that I have offered the world the kindness that I can that day. And I have to be okay with myself because I'm the one who lives with me all the time, 24/7, can't get away. So in a nutshell, all 20 something minutes of this, that's how we got to this point. And I am excited and I am nervous. I don't know if this message will land with anyone. I hope it does. But if it doesn't, I'm learning stuff and I'm growing and I have claimed my voice and I have faced a really big fear. And even with this being my second main video, plus my little intro, even just doing that, a little bit of that fear has been unmasked. And by unmasking it, it has dissipated. One thing I did learn, because that's the whole point of this, is the service I'm using to record the video allows you to put a thumbnail on, but then when you actually publish it, it didn't transfer over. So then you have to go into YouTube and do it. So for a while there, my first video had a really weird shot of me sort of mid something. Like that was fun. I spent, I don't know, an hour or so trying to click through and figure out how to fix it. Hey, now if someone else is looking to do something, you know, if you use the StreamYard and you publish it, go then into your YouTube studio, and there's a way in there that you can upload the thumbnail directly to the video. So there might be a way that on StreamYard, if you do it there, it does push it over. So I will continue to look, but I thought it was really funny that absolutely with my first attempt, I was coming up with something very, okay, yeah, that's a lesson. We're gonna address that one before the next video. So it's all it's about is learning and growing and being true to ourselves and being kind to other people. Kind does not mean giving people everything they want. That is a topic for another day. Kindness is helping people be the best person they can be and helping them grow and holding people accountable in that kind of way. So that is definitely a topic for another day. I appreciate you if you are here. I did realize, I think I meant to say, if you are here, please like, subscribe, notification bell, leave a comment. If you have questions, definitely leave comments for me. And long term, eventually, if I do get enough subscribers, I may end up going live to answer questions in real time. But thank you for being here if you are. This was a little bit of a longer one, and I appreciate you. And be kind to yourself above all.